Ventilation is critical. Not just when you're inside the van, not just when it's hot or cold, always. Condensation is a huge challenge. Now I'm trying my best to film a video, but I'm in the parking lot in the south of Italy on a Sunday afternoon, right next to the beach, and I'll tell you what, people are just coming and going. So if this doesn't work out according to plan, I apologize. But I thought I would interrupt our travel videos and give you a bit of feedback on the changes we've made to the ventilation and the fans we've installed in our motorhome. Firstly, I will show you the Max fan. I'll show you quickly how I did the installation. I'll give you my impressions afterwards. And then we also received some joys of living on the road. Two more changes we've made is to replace the cooling fan behind our refrigerator with a Titan fan, which was sent to me by Titan, and I will show you that. And then we also replaced my DIY fan extraction system in our bathroom. Now, keep in mind that our motorhome is 20 years old. This model was ordered off the factory not with the intent to be lived in full time. So, maybe you've got something newer, maybe you've got a self-converted van, but I think our insight can possibly help you to make some improvements or possibly learn from our mistakes. And I will give you a bit of an overview of our experience and also our impressions up to this point. Now, the biggest problem with our van is it has got no skylight or ventilation vents in the front cab area, and it only has vents, roof vents that is, in the back, over the bed area and as well in the bathroom. Big problem. Tip number one is make sure you have ventilation in the front. It's essential to establish a way to cross ventilate through your vehicle. You need a front vent and a back vent. We replaced our back vent with a Max Air Max Fan Deluxe, and I will show you that in a minute and I'll give you my impressions. And we were contemplating taking the vent we removed and putting it in the front, but once again, this is a 20-year-old motorhome and we are not that sure that we can just cut another hole where we want it to be. We might just completely mess up the integrity of the roof, which is already quite precarious to say the least. Oh, this is gonna be fun. Okay, so this morning's mission is to replace the existing roof vent with a new Max Fan vent. Here's the old one. I've already taken the screws out, and now I have to somehow lift this thing off here and remove all this black goo. Oh god, this is gonna be fun. Okay, I think putting a new one in is gonna be much easier than removing the old one. There's a snack crackle popping. Okay, we got a hole, a giant hole. Next step, remove all this gunk. I think it actually helps that it's a little bit cooler today. So the stuff doesn't get too gooey. Actually remarkable how well this stuff stayed together after all these years. Okay, it's coming along now nicely. Actually, the sticky stuff came off a lot easier than I expected. And then see if I can extract my hand. So the hole is pretty clean now. Okay, so it's getting so unfortunately some of the paint came off a little bit here, but I think what I'll do is probably use the Turnabond tape when I'm done, same as I did this side. Sweet. Let's think about whether we're going to screw it down or not. Okay, we hit a small snag. I didn't realize that these fans are actually designed in two slightly different sizes. If you look at the flange here, this is the part that sits inside the opening. Well, this flange is made to fit a 400 by 400 hole. So this actually should sit inside the hole as well. And then only this rests flush on top of the roof. But our roof hole is somewhere around 360, 365. So it doesn't quite fit. So what I have to do is I'm gonna have to mark out the little bit and then cut the thickness of this part, this little part here, fit nice and flush. Well, these things aren't the best to film because you're always looking straight into the light. Anyways, this guy's in now. He must now be sealed and screwed down. Now this might have to be trimmed down when you fit it. First double check where it actually goes in here. Alright, this is where the trim just installed temporarily. Oh, it's not perfectly square. Oh, look at our beautiful hacked hole. And we're going to put the sealant down. These are old screw holes. Won't be reusing those. Nice thick bead of Sikaflex. I'll place the flange down, and maybe I'll just put 1 or 2 screws in loosely. Problem is, if you screw this down immediately, it compresses the sealant, and you actually want a little bit of maybe a couple of millimeters of sealant around. So we'll press it down as best we can around and see how it sits, and then we'll wait a bit before we screw it down. Sealant is in. I've decided to actually put the screws in for now, just ever loosely, so I can get a little bit coming through the side, so I can make sure it's actually seated properly but not squished. I'm gonna wait till this dries, then we can tighten the screws more if we want to. And what I'll probably do is I'll put some sealant on top of these screws. No, actually I won't do that. I'm going to put the turn-up-on tape around, so it looks like this one. Wires come through.
What's the one?
And there you have it. That's it. Okay, so we're still busy with the trim here. I'm just trying to figure out the electrics, very simple. And we decided to remove this light that's up here and see if we can clean up the ceiling, because we don't use this light at all. So we've done a basic test. Then we're going to finish the installation of the trim, and if you put the power on, we can see if this thing works. Power. Yes, please. Now when you switch it on, it automatically opens. Yo, baby.
That is not silent. And his closing is very noisy.
Alright, I'm going to finish up I'm just putting a little conduit up here, and then we're going to try and clean the ceiling up and put the trim up, and then see how that worked out. I'll show you just now. Okay, we're all back on the roof one more time. Well, there you have it. Job done. Okay guys, I want to quickly update you on the MaxxFan installation. These things are amazing. If you look behind me, you can see our view. How nice is this? Now this is one of those places that you can only really stay over off season. You're right on the beach here. It's beautiful. So you guys must subscribe and see the video we make of this place. Now let me show you this MaxxFan quickly. It actually went in quite nice. Interesting observation is that it's not square. But I don't know what's not square, because it could be the ceiling, it could be these cover strips, something's not square. Doesn't matter. Now just quickly, these things aren't cheap, because they're around 400 euros for the Pro version, and obviously it comes with a remote control, which I'll get back in a second. We sort of divided on the finish. For the money, I sort of expected a little bit more. You do get an option to replace this trim with one that's got an integrated LED light as well as a shield. We opted for the smoky cover, and we're quite happy with that. And as we sleep with masks, you know, the light isn't really a problem for us. This is an automatic one, so when you power it on and off, it automatically opens and closes the vent. That's terrible, because what happens is you can't reduce the fan speed to 0 at all. The only way to do is to shut off the fan, which closes the vent, and then you must manually open the vent, which is really bizarre. So if you look at the remote, I'll show you, it's sitting on 10%, but there's no way to get it to 0. there's no way to get to 0. So you can't switch off the fan. I have to close it. And then I have to manually open the vent. No. Come on. How hard could it have been just to give me the option of going to 0? Second thing is, this remote is humongous. And the bigger problem is, it's got no backlit display. Now you would think for the money, they could have chucked in an LED there, so you can see this thing at night. Because now if I want to change anything at night, I can't see what I'm doing. Weird. Apart from that, pretty sweet. I will put a link below in the description where you can check it out for yourself. Condensation is a huge challenge. Now since we put the max fan in, we're pretty much always running it at 10%, whether we're in the van or not. And we haven't had a single moment of condensation again. Now I know it's not winter yet, so we tend to have more things open, which makes a big difference. The other thing is, keep in mind just your power requirements. Now the max fan is fairly power efficient. Let me check. There's my little battery monitor there, and there's a few other things on, but max fan at 50% versus max fan at 10%. Just keep in mind that you have to account for that additional energy requirements, but it's well worth it. It's indispensable. I'll quickly show you the unboxing of these two Titan fans when I received them. It was a few weeks ago, and we've been using them since then. Go. If you have been watching this channel for a while, you might have seen that I've made some DIY fixes to improve the ventilation in the motorhome. But after a year of full-time travel, clearly that's not going to cut it. I was kindly sent a few products by a company by the name of Titan. They sent me this fan. This is a multi-purpose rack fan made for fitting inside roof vents or window vents. Fairly simple. This is what the fan looks like. Got controls on here. It's got nice aluminium brackets which you can extend to fit it into your vent. Comes with attachments, some screws, knobbies, cable for power, and then also remote control in case you mount it in a place where you can't access the controls. They've also sent us a new motorhome fridge fan. This is the one that put me outside at the exhaust vent to help with the cooling of the fridge. Okay, now if you guys saw my attempt at DIYing this in France, then you remember I just put a normal PC fan behind the grid, and this time the guys from Titan sent me this one. And what's great is it's got an auto speed controller, and it's water and dust proof, and it comes with all kinds of goodies. So this time of the year when it's really hot, it is quite nice to have this auto controller, so it can automatically adjust the speed of the fans as necessary. And they've also sent me a new product. They call it the RV fridge fan. This one's supposed to go inside the fridge, and it helps circulating the air inside the fridge to improve the efficiency. Unfortunately, this one ships without batteries. I haven't got batteries for it yet, so we'll get back to this one at a later stage. And we're back. So this is the fan. Let me switch it on actually. It's got a sweet little remote. Firstly, let me say the build quality is really good. I've opted to put it behind the mesh here, which does diminish its blowing power. It defaults to blow, and I prefer to extract, so I'll put the extract and I'll change direction now. So we can choose a percentage of the fan speed. We can also change the direction of the fan whichever way we want. We can also put a timer mode on, which is quite cool. So let's put it on max, and I'll tell you what, this thing really works. So no complaints so far, and obviously this thing is not waterproof, so if it rains I need to close this hatch. I really like it, it works, it makes a significant difference to the problem with steam building up in the bathroom. If I can make a few comments, let me just turn this thing down. I think if you want to retrofit it into any vent, this is a fairly decent option. Whether it's actually priced competitively, I don't know, but we were looking around for something to retrofit. You get the Fiamma 40x40 fan that sort of suspends inside the vent. I don't like that. I like the versatility of these Titan vents. And in fact, they've offered us a discount code for our viewers, so check in the description below for the discount code if you're looking at ordering one of these yourself. Now, Titan's not paying me to make this video, and my opinions are my own. And that brings us to the last little guy, was the fridge ventilation fan. Now, I really like this product. It's a huge upgrade from what we've done in the past. We had little DIY fans, and yes, I could have souped it up and I could have gotten a little microcontroller with a temperature sensor, but the reality is I probably still would have spent $30, and now for a little bit, for closer to around 50, I have one that's waterproof and it's got a fully automatic or manual or timer function. We can switch it on. So when you switch it on, it defaults to a 3 fan speed, 3 out of 6. And you can actually put it on timer mode if you want to. Excuse my nails because I worked them for sealant. Or you can put it in auto, which I quite like. And then it will switch on the fan based on the ambient temperature of the temperature sensor. If the temperature is under 20 degrees, it'll switch the fans off. If it's over 20, it'll scale the fan up until it hits 45 degrees. After 45 degrees, it'll go full blast. If I go to manual, that light comes on, and now I can set my fan speed. And then you can hear it, what's going. Now you can also fit this fan at the bottom, and then you will reverse it so it actually sucks air in. I've got it at the top, so I wanted to remove air from the fridge. I really like this fan, and it makes a difference. As you can see, we actually got a thermometer inside our fridge. I'll link to that below as well if you're interested. This is the thermometer inside the fridge. This is the temperature outside, considering that it's full sun at the moment. It's nice and hot. And this is inside, so it's actually very close. All right, that's it. I think final observations. Ventilation is critical. Not just when you're inside the van. Not just when it's hot or cold. Always. Hopefully this was useful to you, and if you have any questions, drop them into the comment section. Smash that like button. If you want to see what we're up to in our next video, we will be back on the road. We are still on the road. Click that subscribe button, and we'll see you next week. Arrivederci.